welcome you to our second edition of the South Florida Blitz as we bring you all the news from around South Florida high school football. Coming up tonight, we will pick our 6 games, the pick 6, as we do every week. We'll have the Blitz Lines coming up, and we'll be joined by our special guest in the interview tonight, Larry Blustein of WQAM, a high school legend, really, in the state of Florida, as he has covered high school sports and football for many, many years. Marty, Pallman, Joshua Wilson with you once again. And Josh, looking forward to hearing from Larry Blustein, who we've known a long time. Usually run into him at the state championship games. That's about only time I see him, but he will be
no, you're absolutely right there
on the air tonight. Looking forward to talking South Florida football with him. Is a lot going on in South Florida high school football. In fact, let's get right to the Blitz Lines this week. These are our headlines of high school football around South Florida.
No, absolutely here. And of course, as we see, y'all will start to see that the on the screen here. You will see a thing of what we're going through and what topics we're in. And here we go. And we're going to go right into the Blitz Lines right here.
But first, breaking news music as we start with St. Thomas Aquinas, and a team that we were thinking maybe isn't what they normally are. They struggled to beat Cocoa, kind of a controversial game, a win there. They lost earlier in the year to St. John Bosco. And, of course, that's not really a terrible loss. But they come back last week, and they blow out Treasure Coast. And again, we thought Treasure Coast may have a shot at this, but St. Thomas Aquinas at home holds serve and wins this pretty easily.
No, you're absolutely right there, Marty, and that's a big thing right there as we talk about this here. I mean, I thought that, we picked Treasure Coast in our pick 6, and I think both of us.
I don't know why I fell for that one, but
I don't know either. But I mean, St. Thomas Aquinas. I mean, if St. Thomas Aquinas was trying to raise any doubts about what they are, I mean, they sure did flex that muscle there against Treasure Coast. I mean, Treasure Coast came out. They played some great teams in there, and came out along the way. Especially beating Seminole, there in the early stages of and as well as Kissimmee Osceola. But St. Thomas Aquinas, no match for the Titans of Treasure Coast High.
No, and we'll see as Aquinas kind of the season goes on. Aquinas seems to be getting a little bit stronger there too. But the numbers were released today already. The pairings the first week of from the FHSAA for the playoffs, and Aquinas was the number 1 seed, so was Treasure Coast. So I think both teams have a lot to play for as the season goes on. And some interesting numbers. We had a show a little while ago. You can check it out too. Our playoff preview show, which we're going to do every week now from 6 to 7.
Right.
But yeah, Aquinas will be there. So will Treasure Coast. I think that's a pretty much guarantee there as we move along. And maybe the best team in the state of Florida, maybe the best team in South Florida, definitely. Chaminade Madonna, and they just keep on rolling. They go to Travis Powell last Thursday night, a nationally televised game on ESPN, and hold off Miami Central 31-28. Really good ball game.
That was definitely a heck of a ball game there, and I don't know why that's popping up there, but let me fix that there. Clicking too many buttons here. One thing. Right. That was a game from last week that was sitting there in the thing. But anyways, no, I mean, Chaminade Madonna. I mean, it's just that they are just they find ways to win, and even when it's a bend but don't break team, and that's what happened here. I mean, that's what y'all saw here Thursday night on ESPN. They just literally, bent but didn't break. Especially with the defense. But when we bring Larry Blustein here in a few minutes, we'll be able to talk to him and be able to get pick his brain a little bit about what he saw there on the sideline. Larry's a legend, as y'all know, and Larry, been doing this for 55, 56, 57 years. It's been a long time.
He's not that old.
He's been doing it for a long time. I mean, it's hard to believe that, but that's Larry Blustein there, right there in a nutshell. That's what you see right there.
Yeah, and you're right. He'll have a lot to tell you about South Florida football. He follows it, and he has for many years. But yeah, Chaminade Madonna, there, I think they'll be a favorite to win another state title in Class 1M. And they again, a big win against Miami Central last week. This week they'll be home against Coconut Creek, so another big one there as well. All right, and as you put here our third blitz line, Josh, time to separate the contenders from the pretenders. As we get kind of head towards the halfway point in the regular season.
I mean, here we are, week 6. This is for a lot of teams who have not opened up with district play, this is it. A district play opens up this week for the rest of the teams here in the Sunshine State, and I'll tell you, it's definitely going to be interesting to see what's going to happen. I mean, some of the teams in Miami-Dade County have already opened up district play. They did open up district play a couple of weeks ago, and then the way that the GMAC sets the schedule down there in terms of how the teams in their districts set, it definitely gets things ready to go and all that. But Marty, it's definitely one of those things that we're like, all right, it's time to really separate these guys out, and it's for this week, especially for a lot of district games, it's just going to be, it's a lot of mismatches on the schedule just because of the way the districts are. You've got the top tier and you've got the bottom half, and it's just really those teams have got to separate themselves out, and this is where it starts at.
Well, one game we will talk about too in our picks later on, Cardinal Gibbons and American Heritage. That will be another big one as well between those two coming up. That'll be in Plantation this week in Broward County, so that'll be a huge one. And they may see each other again in the postseason. But as you said, right now, it's still really early. We look at those matchups and we kind of want to start previewing them out, kind of knowing what's going on. But it's just too early for that. It's nice to look at, but I mean, in about 5-6 weeks, everything could be different. A lot of things can be different there.
No, you're absolutely right, because it really is it's that situation where it's it's just definitely where going to take place, and it's again here we are, week 6. District play ends week 10, so you only got a few weeks left here in terms of the schedule. Who is going to win, especially as you just mentioned, Cardinal Gibbons and American Heritage. Well, it's the first of their 3 games in District 2 and 12. Yeah. And for Cardinal Gibbons, this is a must-win game. Because okay, if you win this game, you're pretty much okay. Well, you probably most likely will beat Stranahan. You're going to beat Hallandale, because the Hallandale is the bottom team there in that district. Mm-hmm. Again, for either team, whoever wins this game on Friday night, they're winning the district. There's no question.
Yeah. Well, I mean, as you said, some teams are starting district play in week 6. Some started in week 4. But in fact, we talked about this in our show earlier. One team in Jacksonville, their district play's over. Riverside, they've already clinched the district title, so they're in the playoffs. They don't really have to worry about the next 5 weeks. So that's also interesting as well to see as we head, as we said, into week 6 this week, the halfway point of the regular season. Yeah. All right, we're going to take a 1-minute break, our water break coming up, and then when we come back, we'll have our interview. He's ready to go. Larry Blustein at WQAM when we return, as you are watching the South Florida Blitz, our 2nd edition, live here tonight.
Welcome back here on the South Florida Blitz here on FloorHSFootball.com, and of course on the FloorHSFootball.com social media handles here. Josh Wilson here, Marty Pallman here, and we have got the goat of all goats in the Sunshine State, the one and the only Larry Blustein. And Larry, welcome to the show here, and appreciate you taking a few minutes of your busy schedule. I know you're always a busy man here, but I know South Florida, it's things are just it's still I've been cranking up here in the last few weeks, and it's only going to get even more exciting as we go through. But I know for a fact that that you got that Chaminade-Madonna Miami Central game. I know that was like the game of the year down there, and I mean, let's talk about that game for a moment here. I mean, what was it that really kind of like what was the biggest thing that helped seal the deal for Chaminade-Madonna to beat Miami Central there at a very tough environment at Trask Powell?
Yeah, well, first of all, thanks, Marty. Thanks, Josh, for having me in. And I'll tell you what, though, that game was one of those contests, probably something that a lot of these kids and everybody watching around the country, even though it was 2 hours late because of the lightning and the rain, it turned out to be one of those contests where it just was a game that lived up to its billing. Chaminade's skill position against the offense and defensive lines for Central went back and forth. Seemed like the game would go in the favor of Chaminade, and then all of a sudden Central came on and ran the ball extremely well and played the contest, just like everybody thought it would be. And telling you don't get better football in the country. You mentioned in the state, but how many other games can you, or around the country, that you could have close to 14 Power 5 kids, 9 through 12 grade. And I don't think any. I mean, you could have Mater Dei maybe in Bosco or one of those programs, but it was such a high level of football. Attracted a lot of college coaches. North Carolina was there. FSU was there. A lot of the programs that weren't playing that week or were playing on Saturday. So it only kind of kicked off what you guys said. This season's moving along really fast, and over the next 2-3 weeks, you're going to have some really amazing matchups that are going to dictate region and obviously the district.
No, absolutely there. And, and then, another team that, that we talked about, and I think a lot of people talk about this team because they're not certain what to make of St. Thomas Aquinas this year. I mean, it's kind of like, it's been like kind of like 1 week you get one St. Thomas Aquinas team. And then of course, this past week you get a whole different St. Thomas Aquinas team that just really like flexes their muscle against Treasure. Cause what's kind of fill in people, what's kind of going on there? Because it's kind of like, I'm sure I've seen comments like what is going on there?
Well, a little bit of a transition, new quarterback, and but between UI and everybody listening, they'll be back at state. There's no one that's going to stand in their way. They're just a program that wins because of the fact that they have depth, superior coaching. Yeah, they won't be touched the rest of the way. It's obviously if they play, we all think they'll probably end up playing Edgewater for the state title. And if it comes down to that, that's be a really good game. But they're 4-time defending state champions for a reason. They're loaded at the skill positions. Their offensive line is big. Their defensive line is quick. You got to give a lot of credit to Coco for coming down and doing what they did. And they by all rights should have won the game. As we see, there's a lot of growing pains in the program, but they'll be back. They'll be right back in Tallahassee and playing for another 3M state title.
Hey, Blue, it's good to talk to you and see you at a place other than the state championships. I don't know that's where we normally see you every year, but, you were talking about Aquinas. What about Norland? I mean, this is a team that is undefeated. I mean, I know we don't always talk about them in Miami-Dade County, but it seems like this Norland team went down to Lakeland and won their opener against that Lakeland team, and they're pretty much rolling right now.
Yeah, highest scoring team in the state of Florida. This is no mistake. They brought in 19 kids. Of those 19 kids, 14 of them are Division I. 10 of them have either pledged or are going to sign with Power 5 schools. They're loaded. One of the best junior quarterbacks in the state from a high school standpoint. Obviously, Ennio Yapor may not play at that high level of college just because he's 5'11", but he averages 395 yards of total offense every game, close to 400, because he runs the ball, he throws the ball. They got superior wide receivers, probably one of the largest offensive lines you're ever going to see in a high school level. They average 316 pounds across the front. They're stacked. Defensively, they're as good as any. I think they beat Booker T and they beat Central. That's just having watched all those games and all those teams. I don't see anybody stopping Norland. They're a juggernaut. I mean, they go up to Lakeland, as you mentioned, and put 609 yards up against the Lakeland team that's was a defending state champion. So, this is a team. We watched them last week. Obviously they've resorted to now playing Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday in South Florida because of the stadium situation in Miami-Dade. Like we have 2 games coming up tomorrow. Homestead gets a chance to play on a Wednesday, but that game against American was just like, it was like a JV team against a varsity team. It was 35-0 at the quarter. It could have been 90. It really could have. But Daryl Heidelberg kind of made a lot of switches and went to a couple of the reserves, 9th and 10th graders, in the second half. Yeah, guys, this is a complete team. They play Booker T. They have a week off this week and then play Booker T next week. And then they got Central. And that's basically for the district title, probably the number 1 seed in the region. So, I mean, it's, because here's the fact, you have Cardinal Gibbons and American Heritage, which is always a good game. And as you mentioned, the winner is going to win the district title. You have to look at a Heritage team and what a job Mike Smith's done. I mean, they lost big-time kids last year like Brandon Ennis to Ohio State. They lost one of the best senior running backs in the state last year who's playing a significant role with the Miami Hurricanes now. And then they lost several kids in the defensive secondary. And they still came back, and they beat St. John's to open the season. They stuck right with Chaminade for all 4 quarters, got down early and stayed. I mean, they'll beat Gibbons. Gibbons is just not the Cardinal Gibbons of old. They're a good team. Matt DeBuck, as you know, Josh, does a good job, but they don't have the horses. They don't have the horses that they've had in the past. It'll be nice. It'll be a good game, but I think Heritage kind of prevails. But, guys, I think the game of the week, and everybody's kind of not really talking about it statewide, is Coconut Creek and Chaminade. This would be the best time for Chaminade to get knocked off. They're going up against a team. Obviously, Chaminade has more skilled kids than Ohio State. But that being said, Coconut Creek on both sides of the ball, offense and defensive line, controlled Plantation when they were averaging 59 points through the first 3 games. They controlled Ely last week, and Ely hadn't lost a regular season game in almost 2 years. This is a team that's been building since the 9th grade. All these kids started out in 9th grade. I mean, they're a team that will control you on the line of scrimmage, and they'll control Chaminade on the line of scrimmage. I mean, they're bigger, they're faster, but the one thing that they might not be able to match up with is the skill kids. I mean, the quarterbacks, the running backs, all the wide receivers that Chaminade has, but they're going to punch back. And I'll tell you what, they're going to be a force when the 3M comes around, because they've got that type of talent that when they go up against the St. Thomas Aquinas, they won't back down. And I'll tell you what, Johnny Sloan has done just an outstanding job, and not enough people understand how good this team is. They went up to Gainesville, Georgia, to a place where Gainesville has won 55 of the last 56 games. Took them down to the wire. It was 30-22. And I'm telling you, they came back and they took Plantation to task. I mean, nobody does that with Plantation. They did. So that's a game that a lot of people aren't watching this week, but that's the game I'm going to. A lot of people are going to opt to go and watch Heritage and Gibbons, but I'm telling you, I mean, even though that Chaminade will prevail, it's going to be a better game than people think.
No, absolutely.
Who scores more points, Norland or the Dolphins? Right now?
I think the Dolphins got them edged out now, and but
that's a good one, Marty. I give it to you on that one. I did think about that. Dolphins scoring 70 down there.
Yeah, well, you know what? I mean, after 40 years of mediocrity, it only serves that the Dolphins would start coming alive, and I mean. But the one thing is, too, when you look at a Norland type of team, they're just so quick and they could gut you so many ways. And with that offensive line, they kind of clear out the running game, and they provide protection for any Oyapor. But, you take a look at all the classifications. There's not a 4M team in the state like Columbus. Columbus will beat you in so many different ways. They may not be as high scoring, but their defense is crazy. When they play Palmetto, we were there on that Saturday. They yielded 50 total yards, 22 on the ground. Wow. Dave Dunn does just such a great job. I say I'm penning them back in. There's nobody in South Florida. they'll crush Western. Western is just not as good as everybody thought. They lost their starting running back at the beginning of the year. They just, nobody can compete with Columbus, and Columbus will get the state. And then we talked about St. Thomas, and I think 2M. I think New Orleans could pull the, and I don't think it's a surprise because they're really good. And but we'll find out a lot about them, next week against Booker T and the week after against Central. And then Chaminade pretty much has printed their rings up again. They're going for their eighth consecutive state appearance. That's stupid.
Wow.
Most
crazy,
people,
crazy.
most people, guys, they dream about getting there once. And Damian Jones and his team kind of live there. The only team we figured that would push back this year would be Cardinal Newman, and they just lost their starting quarterback for the year, and that's going to be kind of tough. But even Cardinal Newman last year lost to them, 35-7. Miami's True North Classical, who a lot of they're only 4 years old, and that school, they're 5-0. They beat Naples First Baptist last week, defending state 1S champions. And then they got Bradford County in 2 weeks. They're not backing down on who they play. Wow. And they're a team that maybe for the future is going to continue to close the gap on Chaminade. But right now, guys, I don't see anybody else beating Chaminade short of like nobody. I mean,
you're right, Darren Blue. And real quick, just real quick, give everybody where you're, where to find you at, because I know you're in so many places, and I know they find you on the sidelines, but in the social media, if they're sleeping under a rock, if they're not following you, I'd be shocked. Well, the people watching are not following you.
Right. We see a lot of games. We'll see 4 more this week, which is good. Living in an area where you have limited stadiums, you get a chance to see a lot of these teams play basically every day. I mean, there was even a game this evening. Dr. Kropp lost to South Broward, and South Broward is another team. Don't sleep on them. They're 5-0 now too. But we went to the start of that game last week, and then it got shortened by lightning, and then they finished today. Andre Fernandez from the Heralds there. I hung out last week, and I think it was the only game. I mean, I posted on social media, guys, that I had gone to 12 straight games, and all those games we were either postponed or held up by lightning delay. So I didn't go tonight because I figured if I went, they wouldn't have played. So, but you can find me at Prep Red Zone Florida. We do some really good stuff statewide. If you're interested in Dayton, Broward County, it's LarryBlustein.com. We have everything, database, rankings, things like that. And then if you want, every Monday night, we have our radio show on WQAM. And Josh, you've been on there quite a few times. And, it's a good show, well listened to. A lot of people love it. And we have guests from, college football players. We've had Mike Norvell. We've had Jim Harbaugh in the past. We get a lot of the college coaches because they love coming on during the spring because they can't come out. So it's their way to kind of sell their stuff. But that's it. And you can see me on Larry Blustein on Facebook, also Twitter. We're on Instagram at Our Boy Blue. So we're out there, and if you ever need to push kids, that's what we're all about. We try to promote the kids. And Josh, that we put out close to about 150 200 different kids from around the state every month, free of charge, just to get them out there so the college coaches who follow us will have a idea of how much talent we do have here in the state.
No, absolutely, Blue, and appreciate you being able to join us here for a little bit, and we'll see you around, and we'll have you on again as we get closer to the playoffs time. So appreciate it, Blue.
I look forward to it, guys. Thanks so much, Marty. Thanks, Josh. We'll talk real soon.
I appreciate it. That was the one and the only Larry Blustein joining us here on the. Yeah,
we could literally do like 2 hours just with Larry, I think, with Blue there.
Yeah, no, you're not wrong there, Marty, and everything. And I'd be honest with you, it's one of those things. Larry Blustein is he is so knowledgeable in everything, and I mean,
he's been around longer than anybody I know as far as around high school football. And South Florida, man, you can see a lot. Like you said, you can see a lot of different games because they play Wednesday and Thursday and Friday and Saturday because of the stadiums issues. There are not a lot of stadiums in Miami-Dade County that can play in. But, well, we don't have our rankings for the week. We'll talk about that later on in the week. We'll have that for you next week. But it is time for the pick six. We're gonna have to roll through this one now. Is our first game? Go ahead. Sorry.
Well, by the way, in the South Florida picks last week, you were 3-3.
Ugh.
I was 5-1.
Well, you know what? I actually changed those in our other picks we did. I think I picked Aquinas and whatever the other one was. I changed. But anyway, I think I picked Chaminade in our other picks. But yeah, you're right.
All right, trying to find 6 games, good quality games down in South Florida this week, because considering this is opening week of district play, it's a little harder this week. But Everglades has been interesting, for everything. But here we go, Everglades at American. That is our first game on the pick six here, and as Larry mentioned, about American, it was like the thing. But I think this game's much more closer. It's a district game here. They're in the same district. Everglades out of Miramar. American was more of the team that Blue described as a JV type team that gets Miami Norland, but not the case here in this situation. But I think this will be an interesting one. This will start to separate the district here down there. That also includes Miramar as well in that district.
I'm going to say this is the first time I've looked at these picks, so I'm just kind of looking to go in. I'll go with Everglades in that game.
Well, I'm going to go opposite of you on that one, and I'm going to take American in this one. But Everglades, then they've been showing some signs of an improvement. But it's one of the better district games I can pull out here and all that. But
all right,
here we go.
Northwestern at Cardinal Newman.
Yes, that is the next one, and Northwestern, they've been struggling. It's like you can't see it. Like they were winning against Columbus. Then Mother Nature decided to strike her fury. And
happening a lot down there, apparently.
And it's been happening a lot. You're right, absolutely right on that one. But the Bulls have been struggling. And here's Cardinal Newman, who took a Delray Beach Atlantic to the task and beat him 13-7 in overtime this past week. So, I mean, this one's. I think most years you go with Northwestern, but I'm going Cardinal Newman here.
Okay. I'll go with Cardinal Newman as well. And as you said, Northwestern, not their normal team. And normally I would take them, but I'll take Cardinal Newman at home to win this game as well.
All right. And our third game on the pick six, St. Brendan at Miami Springs. This is a district game. This is most likely whoever wins this one is going to win the district. And this will be big here, I think, in terms of Miami Springs is showing a lot of improvement. St. Brendan won the district last year, but this one's tough.
I'll go with St. Brendan on the road. You said the defending district champs. I think they'll get it done at Miami Springs and take the lead in that district.
I'm going to go Miami Springs in this one. I like to see what the Golden Hawks have here, and I think this one will be one that I think will go right here. So I'm going opposite on you on this one.
All right, the game we just heard Larry Blustein talking about, Coconut Creek at Chaminade Madonna, and I heard what he said. I heard he said Coconut Creek and give them a game. I'm taking Chaminade, though. I'm not going against them right now at home. I'll take Chaminade Madonna. I'm going against Chaminade.
I'm not going against Chaminade Madonna either. I just cannot do that right now. I'm just sorry. It's just not going to happen. It's too tough. Chaminade Madonna, they're like the top team in the state. I think they're probably the top team in the country right now, the way they're playing. I mean, until somebody beats the Lions and surprises us, I'm not going against the Lions.
The Lions, yes, that's correct. All right, Cardinal Gibbons, American Heritage. We also heard Larry talking about that game. Matt DeBuck, our guest last week, Cardinal Gibbons head coach. But this is a tough one. I mean, American Heritage, again, one of the top teams in the state of Florida. They're at home. I'll take the Patriots, American Heritage.
I love Matt DeBuck, but I also love what American Heritage is. I love what the Patriots are doing, and this one's a tough one. As Blue said, Cardinal Gibbons isn't the same as Cardinal Gibbons back, the last, the previous few years. So that's I'm going the American Heritage here on that one. And of course, the other American Heritage is up here on the thing. American Heritage Delray at St. Andrews. St. Andrews has put up a boatload of points this year. So I mean, question is can the Stallions of American Heritage Delray really handle this with the Scots?
I'm taking St. Andrews at home. I'm going to go with them, and I think you're right. It's going to be a really good ball game. American Heritage Delray definitely is improved, but I'll go with St. Andrews to win that game.
All right, and definitely indeed in that way. And then of course Michael Parsons putting his little the things in terms of into the chat about some things, and he's like he's
Bulls because Newman QB done. He says Miami Northwestern. Okay, well. That's
interesting. And then of course he's saying American Heritage Plantation, but rooting for Cardinal Gibbons. That's a split right there.
Yeah, that's right. Also, Michael finally says Saw Creek Coconut Creek versus Ely. So Chaminade versus New Jersey. Chaminade minus 24. So my goodness. All right. Well, that is going to do it for this second edition of the South Florida Blitz. I want to thank our guest, Larry Blustein of WQAM in Miami. And we will talk to you again next Tuesday night, 7:30. That's the time now. 7:30 to 8, the South Florida Blitz. Coming up 15 minutes, we will have the Central Florida Blitz. You can check that out as well tonight on Facebook, also on Twitter, FloridaHSFootball.com. For Joshua Wilson, I'm Marty Pallman. We will talk to you again soon. Goodbye.